What up, all my tech mexers? It looks like DC, with James Gunn at the head, has finally announced their new slate of upcoming films and projects and stuff. This happened just yesterday, and it's something that I have been apprehensive and quite worried about ever since they announced they were kicking Henry Cavill to the curves. But we were told as fans to be patient and trust in the process, and at least wait for these announcements. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's look at what it is.
Oh, he's technically Mexican and 3/4 American, but for 3 generations he's got that nationality. Great-great-grandpa headed south, whose kids had kids then turned around. It's not what the show's about, but it's why he's Mexican technically.
It helps that he was raised in New Mexico, lived in Guadalajara for 2 years, speaks fluent Spanish with a bachelor's degree in language and taquito.
So yeah, full disclaimer, I'm not super excited about this. I'm a fan of a lot of things that James Gunn has done. In fact, his entries in the MCU are probably some of the strongest films in the entire IP. So I was initially excited that he was going to be taking the helm for these new DC projects, especially after DC said that Henry Cavill was definitely coming back for Superman. But apparently that was just to promote Black Adam, because a week later James Gunn announces, sorry, he's out. My boys, he's not going to be in my movies. This was largely regarded as a bad move, because whether or not you like Zack Snyder's vision for the DCU, you can't deny that Henry Cavill is perfect in the role of Superman. So that was very upsetting, but I also understand the argument of wanting a fresh start and wanting to disassociate from the previous DCU and start fresh. So as frustrating as that decision to axe Cavill is, and as much as I think that is a very bad move, I can understand someone thinking that it's the right move to do in order to move forward and brush all the old stuff under the rug, which is what James Gunn has been saying. And if that were truly how he felt, I'd be okay with it. But with this latest announcement of all of the future DC projects, we now have proof that excuse was a living contradiction. They are not hard resetting the DC. They're just getting rid of half of the actors, and turns out all of the projects that James Gunn was already previously involved with are still going to be moving on to production. But don't just take my word for it, take James Gunn's word for it. Here he is talking about the new releases.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time.
Yeah, this is true. The movies had their own cinematic universe, and the TV shows had their own very crappy cinematic universe, and they didn't mix. There were two different things. And then there were also some movies that weren't part of the cinematic universe, like Joker and the Batman, and it was like, oh, okay, well, what's going on? So like I said, I totally get wanting to fix that and clean it up.
One of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation.
That's super cool. I would love that if that's all that was going on.
Characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity.
So they've already contradicted themselves. They're saying, yeah, there's going to be one strict DCU. Well, except for those projects that we already greenlit, because people really liked the Batman and people really liked the Joker, so we don't want to lose money on those. So we're still going to have those in there, but we're going to make it really clear, hey, these ones aren't part of the DCU. Guess what? It was already really clear that they weren't part of the cinematic universe. Like, we got it. And again, I wouldn't be complaining about this if they hadn't used this excuse as justification for firing Henry Cavill.
Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash.
So he connects to what? He's saying it was already removed from the thing you didn't want to connect to, but he already connects to the reset? Is that what you're saying? I think that's what he's saying. We don't have to scrap the new Shazam movie because Shazam was already kind of not included in the DCU, and he can be part of our new one. That's what it sounds like he's saying, but then you get this.
He's been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe.
If The Flash is what you're using for your reset, then why would you need Shazam to connect? There are so many contradictions here. I don't understand.
Move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which...
Okay, Blue Beetle makes sense because he hasn't previously been part. So yeah, even though it was already in pre-production, you can do reshoots or whatever and make it fit into your new DC mold, okay? That's fine.
Into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects.
And then Aquaman 2 comes out after the reset with The Flash, which doesn't make sense. I genuinely don't understand what you're doing, James Gunn. In order for that to work, you wouldn't be able to call it Aquaman 2. It would have to be Aquaman Redux as part of your rebooted universe with The Flash.
Into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So,
okay, let's hear about your new projects. What are you going to be working on? It's got to be well worth the wait if you're kicking out the perfect casting for Superman.
So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter...
I'm very tired. The only time I have to film videos is late at night when my kids are asleep.
This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series I've written.
This is what we're launching it with, guys. It's an animated show with characters from the Suicide Squad, the one that I made. The animal guy. He's in the new one. I don't know what his name is. I think it's called Creature. So is it a reset or is it not a reset? Are we keeping your beloved characters but tossing everything else out? I thought you wanted to start fresh. Also, why would you use an animated show as your launching point? I get it was probably already in production before all these changes happened, but maybe push it back a little bit. I don't know.
In all the episodes, something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
I understand the appeal of that, having the actor in real life do the voice acting. I understand how that sounds appealing, but I actually think it's a very bad move. And this is probably a rant for another day, but real life acting is very, very different from voice acting. Voice acting is an art in and of itself, and very, very frequently when you get regular actors who come onto animated features and do their voice acting there, it almost always turns out really bad because it's a very, very different medium and most people don't know how to act in that medium. I'm totally fine if the voice sounds different. What I want is for the voice acting to be good. But anyway, that's a tangent for another day.
The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members.
So we're not resetting then. We're keeping My Precious Suicide Squad and kicking everything else to the curb.
Members of Team Peacemaker, and
There
this
we
is a
go.
story that's been created by Crystal Henry.
So it's not even just Waller. It's hey, you know, we definitely need a hard reset. Otherwise, people will get confused. We can't keep any of the actors from the old regime. Well, except for all of the ones from my movies. We can keep those ones. When they first made this excuse that they needed a hard reset and that's why they were firing Henry Cavill, the people online were joking that this would be the case, that he would fire everyone except for his characters. And everyone responded, wow, how dare you say that? No, he's not going to do that. He's going to recast everyone. And now it's literally happening. You told us we were stupid for saying that this would happen, and now it's happening. He's got to keep his wife employed, I guess. If you don't know, she played one of the secret agents on Peacemaker. And for some reason, she had a forced cameo in Aquaman. And they're also doing reshoots so that she gets a cameo in The Flash. And probably Shazam too. But no, don't believe your lying eyes. It's not nepotism at all.
Story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is...
Which Watchmen, though? Because, like, now I gotta look it up. Yikes. Guys, it's not the good Watchmen. Her resume is the Watchmen TV show. You know, the one that was just fantastic. Well, I guess we can already write this one off, so.
Who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it.
I haven't seen Doom Patrol. I don't know if it's good. I don't really care at this point.
Next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy.
I thought the beginning of the DCU was going to be everything after the Flash movie, when you reset the universe. You've already listed like 5 or 6 projects that happened before this film. How is this the launch? I don't know what they're doing, but they just keep contradicting themselves.
This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025.
That's a specific date. They have the day, July 11th, 2025. 2 years. Why would they already know the day it's going to come out? That's odd. Usually it's just, like, hey, well, it'll come out at the end of this year, probably. Whatever.
The next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth.
Okay, this is the first one that sounded good until he said it was going to be like True Detective. I mean, it's a good show, but is it a good fit for the Green Lantern? It could probably work. I like the idea of a detective show, and they are kind of like the police, the space police. That could work. You probably don't want to go as dark as True Detective does, but that's the first like kind of exciting one so far. I would have been excited for the Superman movie if it had Henry Cavill.
Watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our...
Oh, yeah. So you're saying they discover a terrifying mystery. It's going to be it's going to be dark. Okay. I thought they hired James Gunn because they didn't want things to be dark. Because he's good at the comedy stuff.
Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine.
The big movie about the comic book that no one knows about. It's The Authority. It could be cool, but why is this what we're using to hype people up? We should be like planning for the Justice League kind of stuff. I get that this is James Gunn's thing. He takes the really obscure comic books like Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, the ones that weren't really popular, and he does a good job of popularizing obscurity. But don't use that as like your selling point, as your to launch the DC universe. Do this after you do the Superman and the Batman and the Wonder Woman. This just feels like such an odd move. I'm confused by all of it. And I acknowledge that, yeah, this is James Gunn's wheelhouse, but it's weird, right? I don't know, what's it about?
Passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters. We are now
No one
bringing
knows
into
about
the
them.
DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of
Okay, so they're going to be interacting with... That's an interesting line. All of these characters are going to be interacting with all of the primary characters, which we don't even have slates for. So what? We're putting the cart before the horse, right?
The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at
Very
superheroes.
different. Also
We're
sounds
doing
kinda
a
dark.
television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira.
Okay, Wonder Woman. That seems like it should have come first. But okay, we're getting a Wonder Woman TV show.
Which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of...
Oh, you lost me there a bit. It's gonna be a Game of Thrones drama? That sounds so stupid. I gotta go back.
Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DC...
That sounds like it should be a joke, but it's not.
The introduction of the DCU's Batman...
Okay, we're getting Batman. Again, cart before the horse, right?
The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU.
Fine, but I'm just confused.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my
Cool, I love superheroes that are losers. He says he's popular, I haven't heard of him though. Of course, I read a lot more Marvel than I did DC, so I'm not exactly an expert on the source material here.
favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now,
yeah, let's adopt the modern comics that notoriously don't sell, rather than the plethora of time-tested bestsellers. I don't know. I haven't read this one because comics haven't been good in years, but maybe it's good.
Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character.
Great. We're going to get a dark, depressing Supergirl. Awesome. Sounds Sounds great.
And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about. A very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now.
That's it. Honestly, Swamp Thing could be awesome, but at this point, I'm just so underwhelmed by everything else that they've announced it's not exactly appealing to me.
I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate
I like that final sentiment. I wish that storytelling is all that mattered to these companies, but I mean, time and time again, we're proven that that's not what matters. I don't know. And maybe I'll have to eat my words. Maybe these are going to be awesome and super cool, but I don't think that that's going to be the case. It's really hard for me to get excited for these projects when it feels like they're trying to gaslight us. So it doesn't feel good.
I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you.
It wasn't. It was not exciting.
Really exciting for me, and I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Man, what a shame. I want to be excited for these. And I initially was excited when they said James Gunn was going to be taking over the DCU. I thought that was a good choice. And every single announcement after that has just had so many red flags. So I hope that James Gunn proves me wrong, but I don't think these are going to be any good. So that's that, I guess. Bye now, and no Cavill, no peace. Like, you know, it is what it is. Bye.